Pro-democracy politicians have rebelled at a swearing-in session in the Hong Kong Parliament last night. They intentionally mangled their oaths in a show of defiance against Beijing, declaring that Hollywood is not a part of China. Well, our correspondent Katie Stallard has the latest from Beijing.
So this should have been a very routine swearing-in session, the new session of the Legislative Council, the parliamentary body effectively for the territory of Hong Kong. But it became instead this pretty open show of defiance for Beijing. So what you had was this new generation of mostly pretty young pro-democracy, a lot of them former student leaders, former student activists from those mass street demonstrations back in 2014. It is a small number of them who have come to power, but they appear to be using that already to make their presence felt. So what they were meant to do was to walk up to the front of the chamber to recite what is a 77-word oath of allegiance, but which they largely chose to subvert. So you had, for instance, Nathan Law, who was one of the key leaders of that student protest movement, who is actually Hong Kong's youngest ever elected politician. He chose instead to recite the words of Mahatma Gandhi, to say, you can chain me, you can torture me, you can even destroy this body, but you will never imprison my mind. I think it's worth saying that this is a fairly small minority, so we're talking about a legislative council that has 70 members, of which 40 are pro-Beijing, but nevertheless this is a vocal minority and a minority whose numbers are growing. I think the significance is that they have come into power, or into office rather, as a result of the first public poll since those September 2014 street protests. So this is effectively the first chance that the Hong Kong public have had to say on this, and we saw record high turnout. We now see what looks like this new young pro-democratic generation assuming their seats, and I think what Beijing will take from this is quite an alarming signal. They see Hong Kong as an inalienable part of sovereign Chinese territory. They will be quite unhappy, I would imagine, quite worried by what they are seeing in the Legislative Council there, and there is, you may be unsurprised to learn, no mention whatsoever of this incident in Chinese state media.